Hey, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is March 4th, 2024. We're already in that third month. It feels like spring. And why wouldn't it be 50, 70? We've been bouncing all over the place, but at least we're not freezing. So let's take that as the win. Tonight, I'm going to be, we're actually kicking off the first of a series, which we did in the last election cycle, where we had one-on-one conversations with various candidates. Later this week, I'll be talking with Stacey Klein. She is running for U.S. Senate. I'm working on a few other folks. I got David King, who's running for Milwaukee mayor. He'll be on Thursday. And tonight, we have one of the heads, chairman of the Milwaukee County, actually, it's the Republican Party of Milwaukee County. So we'll be interviewing Hilario DeLeon. We'll talk about what they've been doing in Milwaukee County as Republicans, as conservatives. What are the initiatives that they've been dealing with, the hurdles, the successes, everything else, especially as we go and move forward here into the 2024 election cycle, which we're already knee deep in. But before I bring Hilario on, just got to remind you guys here, we are on live on Facebook, actually 2 Facebook pages. We're on D Live and we're also on YouTube. Now, if you could do me a favor, make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe, and if you're on YouTube, tap that bell notification so you can get all our videos when they come up. Excuse me one second. That being said, let's welcome to the show Hilario DeLeon, chairman of the Republican Party of Milwaukee County. What is good, Hilario? How you doing tonight?
Good to see you, brother Ed. Thank you for having me back on the show. It's good to be back. I'm very grateful to be one of the first guests to kick off this season of interviewing different candidates, different leaders. There's so many things that are going on right now in this state and in this country that got a lot of things to talk about, and there's almost too much stuff to cover. But I am very grateful to be back, especially since you're my
It is.
lost dad.
Go ahead.
Since
it's the inside joke for you.
Yeah, for anyone who doesn't know.
Go ahead. You start a joke.
For people that don't know, I used to be a guest on Ed's show before I was chairman, and there's just a lot of things that came up, that we connected on throughout the show, and we just hit it off. And we would joke around that Ed is my long lost dad, and he just left me here in Milwaukee. So
I'm just telling you, man, the 90s were kind of wild. That's just how things were. But good times. Maybe the peak of human civilization was the 90s. I don't know.
You never know. We'll have to see. Maybe we'll get back to it. We'll have to see. But it's good to be back.
So let's break it down. So since the last time you were on, a lot of things have been happening. You became the chairman of the Republican Party of Milwaukee County, not just Milwaukee County. And it's very important that we highlight that, because some people say that Milwaukee County has the largest group of Republican voters, although you'd never know that based on how the city itself votes, or the county for that matter. There's a lot of hurdles and challenges dealing with an urban environment, especially with people that just don't want to get involved, things like that. Kind of highlight, give us the cliff notes of how you became the chairman and what you did to get things running.
So, that's a great question. So I became chairman in February 26, I believe, of 2023. So it was a 5 to 6 person race. David Karst, the previous chairman, announced that he was not seeking re-election. At that point, I was the only candidate to have announced that I was running, and then a few other candidates jumped in. We went to the different caucuses that were going on within the branches, and I went on radio. I went on, a few different shows talking about the election and trying to run, and some of the things that I wanted to get done as chairman. I felt that the county was, stagnant. It was not moving in the direction that it needed to, and I went directly to people and I showed them like a 5-year plan that I typed up, and I'm trying to follow as closely as possible. Obviously, not everything's going to get done within the first year or the second year. That's why it's a 5-year plan. If God willing that I get elected again, there's a lot of initiatives I would still like to continue to work on. But I'm proud of the work that we've gotten done so far. I just recently was my first my 1 year as chairman. And in that time of the 1 year, I'm proud of the work in regards to the initiatives of restarting our Milwaukee Young Republicans, getting that charter reactivated, working with our college Republicans and giving them the support. And actually, this Thursday, I will be tabling at Wisconsin Lutheran with the chair of the Wisconsin Lutheran College Republicans. So I'm looking forward to that. So just, really pushing those initiatives of getting, young people involved and really being active. Sorry, that's my cat. He's trying to play right now. I'm proud that we were able to recruit well over 500 poll workers for this election cycle. That is actually, we set a record number for this county party, and I'm only hoping to expand that number going into future elections.
Right.
I'm hoping that more people will want to participate in the election process by either being a poll worker or being a poll observer. Sometimes that's where you got to start to really understand the system that we're in right now. I am proud that we have, done a lot more engagements with people in the community. We've been doing a lot of tabling events out at, Juneteenth, Garfield Days, Cinco de Mayo. We've been making some inroads in the Hispanic and African American community, and even I think in the Muslim community is a perfect example, which I recently sat down with some of the leaders of those communities to talk about their concerns and thoughts. So really, I think we're moving in the direction that we need to be as an organization. People have to understand that, in order to become a proper political organization, you have to, really kind of change some of the things that you're doing. And that means that I've laid it out very clear to people. We are moving away from the pints and politics. Hopefully we will start being able to move away from the dinners. Because, dinners and pints and politics are nice, but they don't win voters. We have a turnout problem in this state, and we got to go find our people. We got to get our house in order. The mission is to lose by less in Milwaukee. And Milwaukee is a Democrat county. Anyone who says that it isn't, or, oh, we can win it, they're lying. That's not true. It's going to take a long time before we can make some serious, changes to the county. But what we can do is find the voters that are staying home, that are not turning out and voting, the low propensity voters, the people that may feel that it's the not my backyard mentality, or the people who feel that they've become apathetic. What is the point of my vote? I'm going to get outvoted by the Democrats all the time. The system is rigged. The Democrats are going to cheat. You name it. Well, right. That mentality has to be put to the side, and we have to explain to people that if enough people in Milwaukee County that are Republican and conservative turn out to vote, then it will give the state or the rest of the state breathing room to help carry us over the finish line. So that's kind of the message that we've been, trying to articulate. Even just branding itself. How are we branding our logos, our messaging, wording, the way our offices look, how we present ourselves in the community? These are all important things that add into the factor of becoming that proper political organization.
So you mentioned, wanting to move away from the pints and politics and the dinners and stuff. Why move away from that when those type of events, while they shouldn't necessarily be the pinnacle of focus for, I think, for any county party, but it definitely helps for building camaraderie amongst Republicans and conservatives and getting to meet and know your legislative representatives?
I mean, there's always opportunities for people to meet with legislative representatives because they come to a lot of different events. But when I walk into the room and it's the same 15 people over and over and over again, it's enough to drive a person insane. And
Sure.
so, we have not grown. We have not, I mean, our county is starting to grow, but if people look at it as a pints of politics as something that is successful in terms of growing, they mistake activity for accomplishments, and we got to get that mentality. We got to crush that, because it, there's enough. A lot of these people, I know all the people pretty much that come to these pints of politics. I know them by name. I know their background. I know their story. I know how long they've been involved. So there's enough, relationships that have been built through that, but we have to go find new people. There's tons of people that we're leaving on the table and not even reaching some people that have no idea we exist as an organization. Pints and politics will, I'm sure, have a place, within, the party and stuff, but I'd rather have an event where we get a group of people together at a park. Before we do a picnic, we go out and we knock let's say you get 100 people that show up. Each of those people go knock 20 doors each, and then we come back and then celebrate. That's an accomplishment because we're actually doing work at the same time.
What do you think is probably the biggest hang up for an individual to not join the Republican Party, of any county?
A lot of it is very simple. And I try to explain this to people all the time. The biggest hang up for people is that, this is a perfect example when people call our office. So I just had, someone call our office today, and I was there, and, I had to talk them basically off the ledge. Like, don't worry, that's not what we're doing. People get mad when they like, I'm angry at the Republican Party. Which faction within the Republican Party are you angry at? Are you angry at the national party? Are you angry at the state party? Are you angry at your local county party? Are you angry at a certain elected official? Are you angry at the people in Congress? A lot of times their frustration and anger is with people that are in Congress, or someone like Ronna McDaniel or the RNC, and then they just put everyone into one big group instead of looking at it being, that's not this county party organization. What happens at the national level doesn't mean that it's coming directly from the Republican Party in Milwaukee County. So we have a problem of trying to explain that to people and try and get them to understand. But once you explain it to someone, then they sit back and like, you know what, you're right. I'm not really upset at you guys. You guys are, at least trying to do good work. I'm more angry at that, individual, like Ronna McDaniel, for perfect example. There's plenty of people that were very frustrated and angry with her in how the RNC was ran, how they did their outreach, the money that was being spent, et cetera, et cetera. So it's having that conversation and explaining that to people, because sometimes they may not even realize that there might be people within the party apparatus that agrees with them. But I think that is one of the biggest hookups or hangups.
It's interesting because when you take a look at people's frustration with a politician, with the RNC, with RPW, whatever, I always find it fascinating because, yes, there is a hierarchy: RNC, RPW, and then all the other counties. So there are certain parameters that everybody has to work by, but to lump everybody together as one, I mean, there's very little that one can do on a county level that's going to affect the RNC. Would that be a correct assessment?
That is true. I mean, we have influence. When you are a member of your county party and you go to state convention, as a perfect example, Milwaukee is allowed to have up to, this year, 536 delegates at the state convention. We never reached that number, but it'd be nice if we were, that's why they probably don't like having conventions in Milwaukee, because, everyone and their brother will turn out to be a delegate.
We get like a whole, we have like a whole 37 delegates, and like last 2 years, I think only 4 showed up at convention. And it's just kind of like,
and this is the crazy thing when it comes to the issues of endorsements. This cycle in Appleton in May, we have the endorsement process for a U.S. Senate candidate, and we are not leaving that room until we have an endorsed candidate. And so when it comes to voting, when you take 536 delegates divided by, let's say, 70 people, that's how many votes get left, that those individuals have, that whatever number is left over per person.
Right.
So Milwaukee County is a very powerful county when it comes to those votes, and that's why I try to encourage people to be involved. We also have to decide on whether who our congressional district chairs and vice chairs are, people who do sit on the executive board of the state party. We also have the power to decide who's going to represent us at the national level for our RNC chairs, our RNC committeemen. When I was out in Vegas just recently, because Turning Point flew out over 300 different county party chairmen from across the country, all key strategic counties across the country. Very phenomenal meeting. I learned a lot while I was there. I met many great people, but I had the opportunity to meet with many different members of the 168. So a lot of them, are very, in touch and involved with their county parties, which I like to see. And I think that more people that are in the county party apparatus, I don't think everyone entirely knows how that structure works or how that system works. So anything that we can do as chairman or leaders of this movement and of these parties, to do what we can do to try and educate people, that's an important part. And I think some people, run into issues with that. They kind of forget about that.
Mm-hmm. So when you're dealing with people, obviously you've got hurdles, especially being in the major, the metropolitan Milwaukee area. Over this last year, what have been some of those hurdles and just, I guess, in general?
I would say the hurdles in Milwaukee would probably be the media. The media is, not entirely on our side. So they will pick and choose, different times that they'll reach out to us in regards to certain stories. So I will give them credit, though, that they've reached out a lot more than I think they have in the past. And I think that I've built a very good relationship with, some of the, major, people in the media, to where they're going to, at least take that time and that amount of respect to reach out to me and get my thoughts, or get what is the official statement of our county party on A, B, and C. That's a hurdle. I think the idea that we have not been around in the community for a long time, we haven't. And people have said that constantly to me whenever I've been out there. It's like, wow, you're like the first Republican I've ever talked to, really coming to these events. Like, we give you major credit for coming out here and talking and extending that, olive branch, or trying to understand, where the concerns are in the community, whether it's crime, whether it's drugs, whether it's, there's a human trafficking problem in our county. I think any major city has that big problem. The issue of inflation, groceries are expensive, gas is expensive, people are hurting right now. So trying to go out there, and there's not much, like, our county really has no control in terms of like having an elected official in power in Milwaukee that could really make some changes. We have, control at the state level with the legislator. So trying to take what happens in Madison that affects the entire state and educate people here in this county, that's also a hurdle, because not everyone sees it. It's that not my backyard mentality. If they don't see it happening,
Sure.
they don't believe that it's happening. But I would say that we are making the necessary inroads that will be needed for not only this election cycle, but every election cycle. And we shouldn't go into these areas thinking that we're just there to get votes. We should be there to advocate for our fellow citizens who are also hurting from these terrible policies that are constantly pushed by, the city of Milwaukee, by the county, or even Joe Biden as our president.
Mm-hmm. So, given all these hurdles, we have a lot of work ahead of us here leading into the 24 election. We have the Wisconsin primary. It's tomorrow's Super Tuesday, isn't it? I believe
I
that is.
think it might be, or it's coming up.
Here, we're going to look that up here. Super Tuesday 2024 states. Let's take a look here. It's amazing that there's still a primary going on. Did I say that out loud? I did.
You don't want to hear my thoughts, that's for sure.
No, we're gonna be nice. But no, Super Tuesday. Let's take a look to see everybody. I'm going to US News and World Report. And does it gonna give me a list? I was just looking at this. Yeah, here's Super Tuesday territories: Alabama, Alaska, Arkansas, California, Colorado, Iowa, Maine, Massachusetts, Minnesota, North Carolina, Oklahoma, Tennessee, Texas, Utah, Vermont, Virginia, American Samoa. And literally in just about a month's time, we're going to have primary on April 2nd. So now you got that. Then, of course, I believe that's the mayor's races on that day too for Milwaukee.
Yep.
But now we
Yes,
have to go into convention in May. And then we have the national convention in Milwaukee in August. That's a lot in a very condensed period of time.
let's just say
Was
that
kind
we're
of
going to be the World's Fair is basically coming to Milwaukee. We're going to have
mhm.
everyone and their brother who's a Republican coming out. We're going to have over 50,000 people that will be coming to our city and our county. So we're looking forward to it. I think it'll be a huge, make a huge impact on the city
Right.
economically. And I think it will also help, people, realize that Republicans aren't bad people. We're good people that care about very similar things that they care about as well. So hopefully that will help us, in terms of, our messaging and our outreach that we're doing. I know a lot of people want to be involved with the convention process, whether they're business owners. And actually, I have meetings set up in the probably couple next weeks in regards to, how businesses can be involved with the convention process. So I'm excited. This is definitely a big help for our organization.
And I know you've done a lot, talking with different businesses, various groups, and things like that. What are some of the common things that they are sharing with you that is relevant to you as the chairman there in Milwaukee County, and that could hopefully get some influence, or at least get into the ear of individuals like Brian Style, Ron Johnson, anybody like that, that you can be that medium between the guy on, the average guy on the street and those people that are actually in positions where they can actually do something.
Yeah, I think that a lot of the conversations that I've had with people, a lot of people are at a crossroads right now. They are unsure. They may have been voting Democrat for years, but they are unsure because of all the negative press that Republicans have received, for years and years and years. But I think, they're warming up to those, interactions with Republicans, or wanting to at least, take a look and see what our side is doing,
Mhm.
only because they're at that crossroads. And so I always tell people, if there's anything that I can do to help, be that bridge, get you connected with someone that can make that difference, just let me know. I'm here to help. I'm not here to fight with people in those regards. I'm not here to, constantly throw rocks at people. I want to be a listening ear. I want to be an advocate. I want to, there's a lot of common sense problems that are going on in our area that I think a lot of people are just tired of, and they just don't know who to talk to. And I try to tell them, that's why I'm here. If you know people that are like that, let me know. So I mean, a perfect example was, and these aren't people that are like, that can vote in our elections, but I just recently met with and invited to our county caucus the consulate general of Japan
Mhm.
down in the Midwest, and they obviously are a neutral part, outside just watching, seeing which way this election will go. But they invest, millions of dollars into the state of Wisconsin through business, and they want to be able to connect with people that can help continue that partnership, no matter which way the election will go. So that is something that I try to do to promote, is like, yes, I'm here to work with you to help better our state, to help better our country. Um, Go ahead.
It's something, you just said that really fascinates me, and I've seen this over the last 2 years in particular. The amount of foreign media that has been here in Wisconsin. You mentioned the Japanese consulate. Um, we've seen German press over here. We've seen Spanish press. When we went to the first Republican primary debate, it was fascinating. Well, number one, if you've not seen the Pfizer Forum, it is awe-inspiring and overwhelming at the same time. And it's weird coming from me, considering I used to live downtown. But um, Media Row, I mean, they have people from every outlet and a lot of different countries. Have you noticed more and more
I
the press around, from not just here in the States, but also around the world, coming to Wisconsin, knowing that this is a battleground state?
The few media outlets that I've talked to that are foreign media outlets, for example, ZDF was a German news outlet. They're stationed in Washington, D.C. Middle East Broadcasting is another example of a group that I've talked to. Voice of America, they cover a lot of they're foreign entity, but they cover a lot of things going on in the United States for Europe and other places around the world. The BBC is another perfect example of another group that I've talked to, and they'll be back during the convention. So a lot of these groups are going to be coming back, but it is fascinating because we have two, this doesn't really happen that often, but we have two presidents, one current, one former.
Yeah.
Both have resumes, and they're both running against one another. And they are two very polarizing people in terms of their policies and personalities. You have one side that is going after the leading candidate on the other side, with everything that they got, whether it's indictments or, just slander or to lawsuits after lawsuit.
Right. They're literally, you have, from the Biden, and I'll say it outright, it's the Biden administration using lawfare to drain the leading candidate out there from any side, that being Donald Trump. And obviously, and it's funny, I had a conversation with somebody and they were talking about how, well, Trump's got all these charges, all these felonies. And it's like, no. What's he be convicted of? He's an insurrectionist. Where was the conviction? There's a process to this,
He was acquitted in the Senate.
They impeached him. He went to the Senate, and they got 57 votes. He did not get the 66. No. So it's interesting because the way you talked about the media frame things a certain way, and I think one of the biggest obstacles I personally encounter is when I'm having these conversations with people. And like, well, this said this in the news. And like, did you look any further? And that's, I get it. Not everybody's a political junkie like us, but doing some of this research is not that difficult. Do you find
it's very easy?
Mm-hmm.
It is unbelievably ridiculous how easy it is for people to just sit down if they just take the time and actually have a little bit caring going on, to wanting to know what's going on, to pinpoint and understand exactly what side is doing what, who stands where, what is being miscued, or what is the truth. So it is frustrating trying to have those conversations with people that are just become so apathetic. They're like, yeah, I want nothing to do with it. I don't care. I just want to sit back. I want to watch my games. But people are now starting to see, even just sitting back and watching a simple, the Super Bowl, or sitting back and watching a Bucks game. They are starting to see politics encroaching and moving in on, messaging in terms of advertising, or just messaging in terms of and racism on that's painted onto the field, or when you have the halftime shows that are trying to push out messaging, or you have just everything under the sun that they are doing. People are starting to realize that, but I don't think they know how to take that next step and handle it. The culture war is a huge thing that is going on, and people that have not been involved, those who have sat on the picket fence, unfortunately are being impaled by it, and it's affecting them. And it's going to, I think, affect this election. I think that there's going to be well, actually, I've had discussions with people that, debated back and forth. Some people view that this election will be a very low turnout election, but I disagree. I think that there's more people that are talking about politics than we have in such a long time in this country, which is a good thing. This is how a republic is supposed to function. A republic fails when its people become complacent and apathetic to everything that's going on. And so when they are starting to see it affect their daily lives, they're going to be more worried about, which way, is there, who's hurting their pocketbook,
Mm-hmm.
who is affecting their lifestyle, that is just, we got to have this, stop. But then you're going to have people that are just, I'm fine with what's going on because it doesn't affect them.
Not
So
directly,
it's going to
yeah.
be very, yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see which way this election goes. But I think there's going to be a huge turnout of people.
And it's interesting because I've heard that too, but I think it's going to be more one-sided because I believe if you look at a lot of what the media is putting out there, especially over the last, I'd say 3 or 4 days, there's a lot of people in the media, a lot of people on the left that are calling out Joe Biden in terms of his mental capacity and whether he is physically, able and capable to be president. And I got to wonder if they're going to be people that they're not going to vote for Trump. They're just not going to vote at all.
While at work, I was cleaning up my workplace, and I was discussing with a coworker because I turn on the news on the TV and I like to have it on there. Like I throw Newsmax on there just because CBS plays in the other part of the building, and we were talking about the election and talking about voting and things like that. And this was someone who voted for Joe Biden, but he didn't vote for Joe. He voted for Kamala Harris, and
Why?
he thought that she would be, he was listening to the primaries and stuff and thought that she was really strong. And then I kind of brought up, well, have you heard her lately? And he says, yeah, I don't know what happened. I think he instantly regrets his vote. And he was saying, Trump, and I think about it, Trump wasn't even that bad. And he's got a way with words because they had one of his speeches on, and it was like live stream or whatever. So they were like tuning in, and we were listening to it as we were cleaning up, and it was interesting to see that kind of person go from like, yeah, I voted for Joe and Kamala Harris, but like now I regret that.
Right.
There's a lot of people that feel that way. Even in the Muslim community, as a perfect example. I said earlier, I met recently with leaders of those communities, and I said that they were at a crossroads, but they said that Joe Biden is, he can't even put two words together. Like he's cognitively not there, and people are scared. They're worried. This is like getting us closer and closer into a world war, and they don't want to be involved in that. People are more, and you can see a change within the party itself. The party has become, instead of the party of pushing for war, it's become the party of peace, which I'm very proud to see. Peace through strength is one of the mottos that we push for, but we're not out. Unfortunately, some individuals within our party, Nikki Haley, push for we got to go take these people out, and that's something that I think more young people are not in favor of, and that would be interesting to see which way the youth vote will go.
I think that's one of the fascinating things, without getting too much into the weeds with Trump and Haley. But if you look under Trump, I mean, there were no new wars, and he was capable of speaking. Sometimes he said a lot of things that were out of pocket that just made you like, oh God. But that's just who he is. But at least he's not throwing out words like Batacalf care, So I mean, and Nikki Haley definitely falls more in line with that neocon, that
She's
group of people from the early 2000s.
She's the swamp queen. She just got awarded their primary delegates. They voted for her overwhelmingly in DC.
Now, you don't have to answer this question if you don't want to, but I'm a firm believer that Nikki Haley winning the primary in DC was a result of Democrats voting for Nikki Haley. And I think there's probably 6 Republican voters in DC. Don't quote me on that.
There are like in Milwaukee, there are Republican voters in Washington D.C. I feel sorry for those that are stuck there, but I do believe that's Republicans. There were Republicans that did vote for her, but a majority of those were probably Democrat votes. And I
Right.
think you're going to find that in a lot of different states, Michigan, Arizona, all these different states. Actually, I think Missouri, I don't know how many turned out for her, but Trump, won every single county. But
Correct.
the Democrats are pushing for her. It's not that they want to vote for Nikki Haley, is that they want to run against Nikki Haley because they're going to beat Nikki Haley. Their biggest fear, and this is a big thing that the left likes to do. They like to play reverse psychology. Actually, no, they play reverse psychology.
Mm-hmm.
So they make Republicans think that they want Donald Trump because they want to, they can beat Donald Trump. Their biggest fear is Donald Trump because you can see that through the indictments and everything and trying to knock him off the ballot. They are afraid of him because he has a way of bringing out these different groups of people from, I call it the common sense coalition is what I call it. And this is what we need to build here in this county. It's the coalition of disaffected liberals, independents, libertarians, and Republicans. Each of those different groups have different factions within, but a lot of those people are looking at shit's out of whack, and we need to get the train back on the rails and moving in the direction that it needs to.
So how do you deal with people when you're talking with them and you're sitting there, you're talking about, hey man, do you see what's up at the grocery store? How much a ribeye is? I mean, go to the grocery store and just look. You can get one ribeye, delicious, juicy, wonderful, $17.99 a pound. Like
Terrible.
when, and I get part of it is because of supply chain issues that we've encountered since 2020. But inflation, it keeps going up. Our dollar continues to be devalued. We were talking about this a little bit off air. Bitcoin is going through the roof. It's hovering around 68,000. I mean, literally within $500 of hitting the all-time high. It's people are taking their money and moving it elsewhere if they have any extra money, because you can't go out. There is no dollar menu at McDonald's anymore. Everybody wants more money, $20, $25, $50 I hear out in California. And that's going to completely decimate. But when you have these conversations with people like, yeah, no, I'm with you on that. I like this policy you're talking about. Yeah, I like this. I don't want this pushed in my schools. Well, you know what? We're pro-life. That's a bridge I can't cross. That one issue. And it's funny because you could have a guy that would be on board with that. And it's like, dude, that kind of doesn't really, like it does if you're in that situation. But how do you deal with that?
So a lot of times when I'm out tabling with people or just in the community and just, at events, the way I approach people or whenever they come up to the booth or the table that I have, I just ask them questions. I don't even go directly into like, yes, I'm the chairman of the Republican Party in Milwaukee County, and I believe in this and this and this and then, did you know that we're doing this? I ask them straight out, what do you think about what's going on in the city? What do you think about what's going on in the county? What do you think about what's going on in the state, in the country, just the world?
Right.
Most of the people, if not a majority of people, all of them pretty much say it's messed up. Things are bad. They are not doing well. You'll have the occasional person like, yeah, things are great. Sure, again, the not my backyard mentality people.
Sure.
And we've talked about this countless times on the show and other things. But then they take, the moment to bring up certain examples. One of the most tragic things that I've ever heard, I think within my, few years of just being involved in politics, was when I went to Pick and Save one day. This was probably a couple months ago, or no, not a couple months ago. It was a couple weeks ago. It was last month. And I was there, going down one of the aisles, just getting some, very basic stuff like milk and butter, things that we ran out of at my house. And I heard in the next aisle over a family basically saying, oh, we have to put this back, we have to put that back. Oh, we can have this, but we can't have that because we can't afford it. We can't afford these groceries. And that's heartbreaking. And that wasn't the first time I've heard it. There was a few times I've heard it within just, that's where the recently, last few months, I've heard those comments from people. It's like going to cost you an arm and a leg. You're going to have to take a loan out from the bank just to go buy groceries.
Mm-hmm.
It's highway robbery. And I feel bad for people. And I'm one of those people too, that I live paycheck to paycheck. I'm not rich by any means. I would consider myself very, very, very low middle class. Got to throw myself somewhere. But
I understand.
it's this administration has made things so hard for people that it's becoming part of everyday topics and conversation.
Mm-hmm.
I feel bad for people. I really do. And sometimes it's just hard to wrap your head around it. Even right now, I'm just like, I'm thinking about it, and it's just like, how can, like, what other words can I put together aside from like, this administration has to go. We need to
But
bring Trump back.
I found it interesting that Joe Biden just a few weeks ago was, when they finally woke him up from his slumber, he had this talk about how, about shrinkflation. And for those of you what shrinkflation is, even if you don't know the word. So let's say you got a bag of Doritos, right? And it's $4.99. Well, you come back a year later. Well, in that first bag of Doritos, it's, I don't know, call it 10 ounces. You go back a year later, you pick up another bag of Doritos, and it's 8.5 ounces, same size bag, just a little bit more air in the inside, same size bag, same size, same price, or adjusted for inflation, probably a little higher in cost. So Biden's talking about this and wanting to push on grocery stores and all these other places to lower their costs. And I was like, wait a minute, they're absorbing more costs, which is why they have to pass it to your consumer. At what point? Well, I know what he's doing. He's talking to the low information person that doesn't necessarily understand supply chain economics. So how do you get people to understand something like that?
That, I mean, sometimes you probably won't be able to get everyone to understand it. There will be people that just, you can't explain it to them. It's just impossible. Either because it doesn't affect them, or two, they choose not to want to understand it. They're living in a bubble. They want to just be left alone. They don't want to deal with politics. They don't care. But the people that are affected by it, it is easy to explain it to them just by talking with them and having those conversations. Just you talking about how much food costs for a what was it again? It was a steak.
So take your pick. I mean, ribeye is $17.99 a pound. A box of cereal is running you $7 for a box. A cube of soda I'm seeing for sale. That used to be $3, $4, $5 on sale. Granted, it was on sale, but now it's like $14.99. Everything has gone up.
Yep.
Don't even get started on gas.
I know you're always on the road, so it's
yes, sir.
Always a huge factor. Actually, I had a friend, my brother's friend, I should say. I'm just becoming friends with him now, but he's an Uber driver, and one of the things that he constantly points out, and this is someone who voted for Biden because his family told him to and stuff, and he leaned a little bit more that way. But just recently, my brother and I sat down and talked with him for almost 2 hours, and he says, that's it, I'm voting for Trump. But he felt already that pinch, that pinch on his pocketbook in terms of how much gas was, because he's an Uber driver. Right. Gas is ridiculous, and in certain areas they have prices that are higher in inner cities.
Oh, yeah.
That's horrible. Those people that are trying to just get to work and live their lives and trying to go to the store and get groceries when they have time to do that, if they're not already working 2 or 3 jobs, which is another thing that the Biden administration continuously likes to lie about, is that there's more people working now, there's more jobs that are out there, and more Americans are working. Well, they don't tell people that there are people that are working, again, 2 or 3 jobs.
Absolutely.
Just to put food on the table, and it's a slap in the face to all those people that are really working. But mom's a perfect example. She works more than 2 jobs. She shouldn't have to work more than 2 jobs at her age. That's not right. So I think that in time, within the next few, as we get closer to this election cycle, more and more people are going to feel the pinch. Summer's coming up. Imagine what the prices are going to look like 4th of July.
Right.
All these different holidays that are coming up, for the summertime, vacationing, people just trying to enjoy a simple vacation.
What's that?
Right. Well, for people that are just trying to, enjoy what little time that they have from the reality that they're facing in terms of working those 2 or 3 jobs, or trying to, take some time off from, school and other things like that. Everything's so expensive that it makes traveling hard. And now they want people to buy electric vehicles so they don't go very far, so they can't escape cities. It's just, I'm getting off on a tangent right now. But
I'll stay in my little rural area here, but we're gonna wrap it up here pretty soon. But I want to kind of move to a little more positive topic. But before you do that, just keep in mind economically, right now we have record-breaking credit card debt out here. And every time you hear the inflation's down, yeah, of course inflation's down. When you remove some of the biggest things that count in there, like food, energy, housing, they don't tell you they take those 3 things out of the equation when they talk about the inflation numbers. It's what President Bush said at one time. It's voodoo economics. But let's move on to something a little more positive here as we're going into spring is right around the corner. A couple of weeks away. And obviously it's an opportunity to go out there, engage with people, door knock, those type of things. Talk about the future of the Republican Party of Milwaukee County, the initiatives you have going into this summer, into convention, into national convention, and what people can do to help.
Yeah, so definitely. So anyone who's interested in being involved with the national convention and wanting to volunteer, there are volunteer opportunity signups right now. You could just go to, I can pull up the website, but go onto the website. There is a link.
Here, I'll get it up here.
All right, Ed will pull it up. I think it's like MKE host committee.
Right here.
That's our website, but the actual host committee, it's MKE host 2024. I think is what the website
let me find
is called. That is for the national convention. MKE 2024 host.
Yes, I got it right here.
Yep.
.org.
This is the website that you go to if you want to be a volunteer, or if you are a vendor, you can sign up and try to become a vendor and showcase your business, showcase what you are providing, what things, what does your business do? So there's it says 131 days convention countdown. Actually, I think it might be, no, it is 131 days. So we're very excited. They need over 8,000 volunteers. Like I said, there's 50,000 people that will be coming to our city to enjoy this wonderful process and watching. The whole world will be watching. The eyes of the world are upon Milwaukee. So one of the other initiatives that we are doing right now in the Republican Party of Milwaukee County is a great initiative that myself and others have worked on. It's called Operation Connecting Milwaukee. So this operation is a door knocking. It definitely changes the way that we go out and we knock doors and we connect with people. We're not just going to be pushing a candidate. We're going to go and we're going to try and find those low propensity voters, those voters that are our voters that do not turn out and vote in election cycles, again, because they may feel like they're apathetic or no one's ever reached out to them. And there's plenty of them that are here in Milwaukee County. So we're going to be getting the first training up, I believe, this on the, I have to look at the calendar again. I think it's the 15th. It's a Wednesday of this month, but we're going to be, it's Relational Politics 101. We have to build relationships with people if they're going to want to get involved, if they're going to want to turn out to vote. And we're going to make sure that we get our house in order before we go out and try and get everyone else. We're still going to be reaching out to swing voters whenever we're at community events and stuff like that. But But right now, we have to find the base. We have to turn them out in order to win. And that is the mission. The mission is lose by less in Milwaukee. And honestly, if you cannot knock doors, then help make phone calls. If you cannot help make phone calls, then help write letters. If you cannot help write letters, then help drive people to the polls. And if you cannot do any of these things, then please join the Democrat Party, because obviously
I wouldn't go that far, but yeah.
Why not? They're not doing anything to help us at that point. Or just don't do anything. Don't complain then. And if we lose and Joe Biden wins another 4 years, do not sit back and complain, because you have no right to. If you don't vote, you don't matter. That is the message.
So here's one thing I want to bring up here, because in the chat room, and I do apologize, I kind of neglected the chat room, but we got brother Joe Lozano up in here. Apparently he screwed up your name somehow. Yeah, you were Delario here.
Some delicious.
That's a combination of the two. And we got to give a shout out here to Maurice Delk here. If you haven't checked him out on YouTube,
What's up, Mo?
You know about Mo?
I know Mo. I remember we first met. I think it's been a while since we've talked, but we first met when the Trump rally was here at the Panther Arena.
Okay.
I was following him beforehand, and we happened when all the protesters were outside. He was there videotaping them and yelling.
Mo's off the hook, man. I love that guy.
Yeah, he's got a lot of good things going there.
You just got to be careful when you go on a stream, because he says the no words, kind of like what I do when I'm not interviewing people. I'm all about the no word. I just, we were talking about this earlier, time and place for everything.
Yeah, even I've toned down my no words from when I first started.
Good stuff. All right,
but
so let's wrap this bad boy up here. Obviously, we got.
You don't want to do a 3-hour stream?
No, I did a 3-hour show last night with Orlando, and it went. Obviously, when I do a 3-hour stream, it's always phenomenal. But
of course,
I'm up at like 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning. We can start to like 8:30, and we're coming up on 11:30, and it's like, oh man, I'm gonna be hating life tomorrow. I gotta get some Z's.
Gotta get that Z so that CPT doesn't come in.
I'm just saying, it's good sleep is essential to your health, and I'm all about that. But so we got the website down there. That's your GOP. And let's see, I want to go get to that Milwaukee 2024 host, and I'm going to put that in the chat room as well. So do you got it?
I want to put this out there
Go ahead.
I want to put this out there too. Anyone that is in the Milwaukee County area, if you are watching this stream, or if you know anyone that is, like complaining about things going on in politics, but it is not involved, tell them to join the Republican Party of Milwaukee County. Become a member. It's only $20. I think the price might have just went up a little bit, but not too bad. It's still within that 25 range.
$20 for the individual.
Yeah, for an individual. For a year, but that allows you to have voting rights at caucus. It allows you to have voting rights at the state convention, because again, Milwaukee is allowed to have up to 36 delegates at state convention. So get involved, do something, become a leader within your community. Because that's exactly the route that we are going to be going. We are going to be helping people become leaders in their areas, become advocates, walk the streets, understand what's going on, push for policies that will help fix our city and not tear it down, or put it on the verge of insolvency. There's so much that people could be doing that they just don't realize. We all have a sphere of influence around us. How do we interact with that sphere is a whole nother question and a whole nother topic itself.
I think that, there's other things we can do too. I mean, things like write letters to the editor, start your own blog, do your own podcast. There are ways that you can get out, and there is an audience out there, and they're not going to be the hardcore conservative. We got a little delay over here. They may not necessarily necessarily be the hardcore conservatives, but they may be that more person that's willing to listen. And those people that are doing this, you might be the right voice, the right person for them to with.
No, definitely, and so that there's so much again that we could be doing, and I hope people continuously want to get involved. But yeah, that's my thought process on that.
All right, let's try something here because boy, this delay is. There we go. Joe says that what do you say here? I put Trump material in repos. He's got all the Trump literature, just puts it inside of every vehicle. I can see him doing that. I totally, because him and his pet raccoon, I can totally see him doing that.
Honestly, I encourage it. Keep it up.
Good stuff.
Like make sure you pay your tickets and stuff, or pay your bills on time, or Joe's gonna come in and he's gonna put that Trump literature in your car.
Oh man.
But
so, all right, I'm gonna let you have the floor. Get any last words in, and the floor is yours, brother.
Anyone who wants to continuously see what we're working on in Milwaukee County, or just even follow the journey that I'm on, because believe me, it is a journey. Maybe someday I'll put together a sitcom or something to talk about all the great things that are going on, or all the crazy things that I go through, because I have a lot of phenomenal interactions that are just mind-blowing. But you can follow me on Twitter at Hilario DeLeon 12. That is my Twitter handle. I've got a lot of good things that we're pushing out there. You can follow us at mkegop.com on our website, or you can just type in Republican Party of Milwaukee County on social media, and you can see all our social media handles. Anyone that is looking to, I got to put this out there. I'm sorry for any of you Nikki Haley fans, but if anyone still doesn't think that or still thinks that Nikki Haley's going to be the nominee, you need to go back to bed and wake up, because it's not going to happen. This country wants to see a rematch, and we're going to get our rematch, and hopefully we'll be able to pull across the finish line. Hopefully we will be able to unseat Tammy Baldwin and retire her permanently. And we will do everything in our power to make sure that this county party becomes the tip of the spear of the Republican armada that we are building in this state. So I appreciate the time for coming on this podcast. I'm sure there's a lot more things that I could talk about that I haven't even thought of, because my mind's all over the place, because that's what happens when you're a county chairman. You got a lot of things to take care of and a lot of things to focus on, but I can blabber for 3 hours, like I said.
Oh, nice and easy.
But
I know to do a 3-hour show would be not be very difficult, but we're gonna have a lot more conversations, so you're definitely welcome back anytime. You just let me know, we'll set it up and we can chop it up and talk about what you guys got going on down there in Milwaukee.
And you guys are always welcome down to Milwaukee if you ever want to stream at our events or anything that we're doing, or if you want to just come on out. Anyone who wants to make a difference and you really want to see the state, win in November for the Republicans, come on down to Milwaukee, help us with door knocking, help us with outreach to people in the community. We'd love to have it. So thank you again for your time.
Outstanding. Thank you, brother. Appreciate you as always. Hilario DeLeon, chairman of the Republican Party of Milwaukee County. All right, guys, that was a phenomenal conversation with Hilario. And we're going to have more of these conversations, not just with Hilario, but also with other county chairmen, other influencers here in Wisconsin. We're going to be talking with various candidates. For example, this Wednesday, we're going to be doing a pre-recorded episode, but it's going to be myself sitting down with U.S. Senate candidate on the Republican side, Stacey Klein. So we'll have that conversation. We'll also be talking with David King. He's running for mayor in Milwaukee. So it's going to be him going head to head with Cavalier Johnson. So we'll have that conversation, and we'll have many more to come. And we're frozen over here. How interesting. Oh, there we go. That being said, I want to thank you guys for joining me here tonight. Please make sure to like, share, subscribe, and I will look forward to talking to you on the next episode.